Alright,
So you wanted to talk about planets?
Yes, planets. This is one that you introduced me to ages and ages ago. Well, when we first met, I think. It's been a while.
It was the first set that we watched complete together.
Yeah, and it was one of those that, completely off my radar because it was never broadcast here in the States. I mean, a lot of my stuff came from Toonami and stuff before this.
Oh, it's a set I picked up back when Suncoast still existed, so...
Oh, so back in the dark ages, huh?
Yeah. It is probably one of the last sets I picked up from them. And I don't think I finished it off through them. I think I got the first couple through them. And then at some point they went under, closed all their stores. And
got the rest of it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Alright, so this anime, for those of you watching at home, this is what you see there is the cover of the Japanese version. It's called Planets, which you have it written in katakana, but you also have it written in Greek, which is an interesting design choice. It's not spelled traditionally like we would, us English speakers. It's got ES at the end, which is the Greek way of spelling it. A little bit of background information. This was a short manga series that technically has 4 volumes, but the 4th volume got split into 2 parts before it was cool to split the last volume into 2 parts like everybody does nowadays. But it's written by a guy named Yukimura Makoto. And the manga is really short. You can buy it on You can buy the manga on Amazon, as well as the DVD collection. For some reason, you can't get the DVDs on Right Stuff anymore, which was my first place where I went to go find this stuff. It was originally a 2-season anime. It ran from October 2003 and it finished up winter 2004, so it's a 26-episode series that comes from a 4-volume manga. It definitely comes from a time when, we don't have the 30, 40, 50 volume, I'm thinking Bleach here, or Naruto that go on forever. I mean, this is a pretty condensed story as compared to, I think, what we're used to now. The thing that struck me about Planets when I watched it was this focus on realism, where it's this very realistic look on where we could be in space in, say, the next 50 years. Maybe 100, depending on if we get everything working properly.
Yeah, and it also focuses on the least desirable position of the entire thing.
Oh, yeah. This is not a... yay, we're going into space and everything is hunky-dory. It's like, no, we're in space. And sometimes, life is complicated. Sometimes life sucks. I mean, you're the one astronaut who's dying of cancer because of all the radiation exposure from being in those spacesuits.
Yeah.
I mean, that was depressing, but it was something that doesn't get talked about a lot when we're dealing with astronauts and being out in space for a long time is radiation. We're in this nice little bubble here on Earth where we don't get hit with a lot of that, and out in space it's just you in a spacesuit. And, that's not a lot of protection.
Well, it's also a lot about the main character's just a garbage collector.
Yeah, and it's a space garbage collector, which is something that... this came out well before Gravity, but in Gravity, if you've ever seen it, you have this crew working on a satellite with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, and they get hit by space debris, and shenanigans ensue. And the whole point of this main character's job is he's a garbage collector. He's collecting space debris and making it so that it goes into the Earth's atmosphere and burns up, so it doesn't hit satellites, it doesn't hit spaceships. It makes it so that it's actually safe to travel in Earth's atmosphere without getting hit by a supersonic screw. which is an actual scene from the very beginning of the anime and the manga. It's just kind of terrifying.
Yeah, but it keeps that in perspective. This came out actually before China tested its satellite weapon, where their intention with that weapon is to cause space debris. It's to break up a satellite and make the orbit unusable. And that's really what this touches upon, is the consequences of things like that.
In fact, in the special features in the DVD collection, they actually have this thing where they're talking with NASA scientists about the dangers of space debris and how it's a big problem even right now, and we don't really think a lot about it. You know, we don't think about what happens with the those old pieces of those old defunct satellites which haven't fallen out of orbit yet. The rocket booster parts that again are just kind of floating out there if they haven't gone into re-entry, and it's all just kind of up there and just causing havoc potentially.
Yeah,
and,
NORAD tracks all of it that they can.
Yeah, and it's something that, you know, if we ever want to really go into space, it's something that we are going to have to contend with. Thinking about making space safer, at least if we're going to have people coming and going from bases and stuff.
Mostly preventing ourselves from getting to the point where it's a problem. Because we can't have launch a satellite or launch a shuttle and have it be wiped out by a screw or anything like that.
Yeah, so. I mean, when you're spending a couple $100 million on a new satellite and have it get knocked out by a screw, or having, SpaceX with their commercial space flights. We have to make space safe, and that's what these guys do. They are the unsung heroes of humanity having a permanent presence in space. And it's the kind of people that, you know, we focus, I think, on the Picards and the Captain Sheridans and those kinds of people when we think about, you know, science fiction and space travel, but I don't think even Star Trek would be possible without them having dealt with this issue before having space stuff, you know, having colonies and being able to travel in and out of our solar system. It's just something that we don't think about, but it's something that NASA thinks about and is kind of terrified of, I think.
At least the series isn't overly serious, though, at points. It has weird episodes in it.
The lottery dance comes to mind.
No, that's actually completely normal. People do stupid stuff like that with lotteries all the time. No, I'm talking about the ninjas.
The ninjas. You're capturing the ninjas.
The vagrants who become ninjas because of the gravity so low.
Oh yes, the lunar colony ninjas. I'd forgotten about them. Yes, they were the people who helped to build the lunar base and didn't leave, and they didn't have jobs after everything was built and they couldn't get home, so they became the lunar ninjas. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so you have silly episodes like that here and there, mostly to break up the seriousness of it.
Yeah, because there are these really serious moments, especially. I guess this might be a good time to talk about some of the characters a little bit. In particular, we've got our major crew. We've got the everyman, so to say, character, which is a very idealistic girl from Earth, who is working for this massive corporation just out of school, and she gets assigned to this garbage division, and it's not at all what she expects. And thanks to her being completely clueless about all this, we do get the nice exposition through her. And then there's Hachi, who's our who is really the main character of the manga. So if you read the manga, you'll get a lot of Hachimaki. That's his nickname. But you don't actually get a lot of Ai. In the anime, Ai is a much bigger character than in the manga.
I think that's mostly because they wanted to focus on the romance.
It's a good romance, don't get me wrong. It's kind of cute.
It's not like they hit it. They try to play as if they're hostile towards each other, but it's a given that when the female lead keeps on calling the male lead a pervert every other episode,
they're probably gonna end up together.
Yeah, it's one of those. They could have at least done that a little more subtle, or at least not pretended so hard that it wasn't going on. It's one of those. The relationship was always there.
And Hachi is very ambitious. He's this garbage man who wants to own his own spaceship, which really, when you're at the beginning of the series, you see how hard he works for how little, and how his dream is just not gonna happen, and but he's still gonna go for it, which is just, he's a very persistent character. He's very stubborn, which I think helps him out through the series. Another character is Fee, our pilot of their little ship, who just needs a goddamn cigarette.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much that was actually believable. I know there's a lot of smoking in Japan, but this is supposed to take place how many years in the future?
Oh, it's probably about at least 50 years.
Yeah,
from now.
I don't imagine there being that many smokers still in existence.
She just needs her cigarette. and she's kind of their little mama bear. And...
yeah, but she's like a chain smoker. And it's like, I remember chain smokers in the 80s, but I haven't seen anyone who's a chain smoker in the last 15 years.
And then the last major character that you deal a lot with is Yuri, the guy from Russia. Gotta keep it multicultural. Fee's from the U.S. There's also a guy from India who's working to support his 9 kids back on Earth. And this is where the dub's fantastic, because they got a great actor for it. And then, Yuri kind of is this quiet, stoic Russian guy who is, he's a kind of a tragic character. You don't really do a lot with him, but he's the wise man.
The problem with watching the Japanese dialogue in it is it's hard to actually tell the accents. The dub does do the accents justice. You can actually tell very precisely the ethnicities with the accents that
I
that
think
get masked when it's turned into Japanese. It's one of those.
There are definitely a lot of moments in this where you can almost make an argument, the heretical argument, that the dub is better than the sub sometimes.
In parts, yeah.
I mean, there's some parts which they didn't translate that well, but you're willing to live with it, considering how good the rest of it is. So I think that we will wrap up this video here, and then we can talk more about this in another video, because I don't want it to run too long. But this is Mithrila talking about planets. The dude who's talking with me is my lovely Mr. Mithrila. We're both anime fans, as you can probably imagine, and think that we're going to do a few more of these, see how they do. But this is the first one. We're talking about planets. So this is Mithrila signing off, and hope to see you in the next video.